Hello and welcome to another edition of Addition. I'm your host, Addy. I'm a big tech product manager, mathematician, futurist, tech optimist, artist, and creator, and I'm here every week bringing you the hot topics in tech, some career advice, an update on the markets, and let you know what I've geeked out about this week. So before I get to today's episode, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. If you want the podcast directly into your email inbox, you can subscribe to the Substack. That is additionpod.substack.com. I include the link to the YouTube channel, or to the YouTube video, as well as the show notes with all the links to the articles, as well as you could listen to the recording as well. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on TikTok and Instagram at Addition with Addy. I'm on Twitter at AdditionPod. And my personal Twitter is at Addy Adewusi. And if you have any questions that you would like me to answer on the podcast, always anonymously, you can email me additionpod@gmail.com. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's get into the market updates. Starting with crypto. So Bitcoin is up 4.26% over the past 7 days, and it's hovering around 24,172. Ethereum is up 13.22% over the past 7 days, and it's hovering around 1,927. The Ethereum rally is most likely due to the merge. So the Ethereum developers have executed the third and final test merge on the Gurley test network. If you have no idea what the Ethereum merge is, I'm going to quote from the Block article linked in the show notes. The move is the final step before the mainnet merge, which will see Ethereum transition from proof of work consensus to proof of stake. The merge has been eagerly anticipated by crypto developers who hope that it will make the Ethereum network significantly more energy efficient and cheaper to use, end quote. So I am going to question the cheaper to use. I have heard mixed answers as to whether Ethereum gas fees are going to be lower post-merge. I don't believe they are, and I wouldn't bet that they are. But that being said, just the hype of this transition of the Ethereum blockchain is rallying the price of Ethereum. And if you are invested in Ethereum like myself, this is good news, whether the merge actually has a significant impact on whether Ethereum runs better or not. Okay, so going to the S&P 500, it is up 3.26% in the past 5 days. The NASDAQ is up 3.08% in the past 5 days. So for the past 2 weeks now, the stock market has had some significant rallies. As I mentioned last week, there were earnings reports, so that may have boosted confidence in investors. And I also heard that inflation has at least remained flat month over month. But at the same time, we're technically in a recession. So I have no idea how to predict where the markets are going next. I'm just glad that I've been investing every paycheck, no matter what the markets have been doing. Okay, so moving on to the hot topics in tech, I have 2 articles that I want to discuss today. There's been a lot of tech news, but I mentioned, this is not tech TMZ. I'm not covering every single article. I mainly want to focus on articles that affect holders of crypto as well as employees in tech. So first, let's talk about the Calm layoffs. So this came out today. I'm going to quote from the Wall Street Journal article. Calm.com Inc., maker of popular meditation and wellness app Calm, has laid off 20% of its staff, according to a memo sent by Chief Executive David Koh to employees on Thursday. People familiar with the matter said San Francisco-based Calm employed roughly 400 people and that approximately 90 were laid off. Mr. Koh's memo didn't elaborate on the reasons for the layoffs, but promised employees a more in-depth discussion on the future of the business at an all-hands meeting scheduled for Friday, which is today. One employee who was laid off said company leadership cited macroeconomic trends in explaining the layoffs and told employees that they had tried to reduce expenses in recent months to avoid cutting staff. The employee and another person familiar with the situation said approximately a dozen roles in Calm's consumer marketing department were eliminated as part of the cuts, end quote. So I'm bringing this up because this is another example of, a recession, a COVID thriving business that is now reversing as we are coming hopefully to an end of COVID. So meditation apps like Headspace and Calm, this became a popular resource for companies to provide to their employees. So it's notable that it was the consumer marketers, not necessarily the B2B marketers, business to business, that were laid off, because B2B is just a much more predictable, stronger business in general than selling to consumers, people like you and me. So anyway, with these, tech being in some sort of recession and, companies tightening their belts, it's possible that they're letting go of these benefits that they previously had for their employees, like subscriptions to Calm. So also imagine all the people that have been laid off in tech especially. They may have had a subscription to Calm, and even though they may really need something like Calm right now, they are canceling their subscription. So hopefully we will find out more information after this all hands, but as of right now, Calm employees are probably stressed out. Okay, moving on to Tornado Cash. I know you guys want to hear me talk about this, so let me quote from the CNBC article, and this is from the 8th, which was, I believe, 4 days ago. So I quote, "The Treasury Department has sanctioned the popular cryptocurrency mixing service Tornado Cash for allegedly helping launder over $7 billion of virtual currency. The decision means that Americans are banned from using the service. Similar sanctions were imposed in May 2022 on another popular service, Blender.io. And this just came out today. This is from The Block. So I quote from the article, Dutch authorities arrested a developer suspected of involvement in Tornado Cash on Wednesday, 2 days after the US government sanctioned the crypto mixing service. So the US government is definitely taking Tornado Cash seriously. So let's take a few steps back and talk about Tornado Cash. So if you're familiar with crypto, you know that if you actually use your crypto and don't just keep it in your Coinbase or Gemini account, you have something called a wallet, and each wallet has an address. So whenever you make a transaction on the blockchain, there is a record on the blockchain of your wallet address making this transaction, and literally everyone can see it. So let's say you are a hacker and you raid, some company's wallet, or, either through some sort of hack attempt, you now have a whole bunch of money that you cannot necessarily move, because as soon as you transfer, so first the authorities see your wallet as being the person that stole the money, so they have that wallet address. So if you were going to do anything like transfer it to, a Coinbase so you can cash out, the authorities are immediately going to stop you because they know they can track your wallet through the blockchain. So that is why hackers use services like Tornado Cash, which essentially pool your money with a whole bunch of other people's money and make it so that money is no longer traceable to your specific wallet. You can send that money to, let's say, a new wallet that you've set up and happily, distribute your cash. Obviously, authorities are not happy about this. So if we talked about, like, in the fiat world, if I robbed a bank, or let's say was doing some sort of illicit activities, based on my research of watching Ozark, the only way for me to launder that money would be, through a business or something like that. If you've watched Breaking Bad, if you watched Ozark, you have an idea of how money laundering works in the fiat world. In the crypto world, that is done through services like Tornado Cash and Blender. The difference is that authorities don't want fiat money laundering either. And if you don't know what fiat means, I'm talking about, actual like currency like US dollars, like physical, pieces of paper, or, bank balances. That's what the crypto world calls fiat. So authorities don't want fiat money being laundered either, but it's much harder to track that. But at least with, blockchain, they can see exactly what's going on. So that is why the Treasury Department has this sanction. That's why they are on the hunt looking for people involved with this company, because they're making it very easy for people to, or they're making it honestly frictionless to hack crypto, and they want to put a stop to that. Again, this is good. The less hacks happening with crypto, the more challenging that it is to successfully execute a hack. We're going to get rid of a bunch of bad actors, and there's going to be more privacy and security in crypto. So this is good for crypto. But again, it's negative press. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin and Ethereum are still up. So I would say this is good news. All right, moving on to the career segment. So as you know, I'm doing the first 90-day series. So I'm going to talk about week 3 at Google, but I'm also going to talk about product management again. I did an episode on this in the past, but I've gotten so many more people reaching out to me, learning more about product management. And I've also seen some discussions and Slack groups that I'm a part of, and I don't necessarily think that they're going the right way about breaking into product management. So I'm going to talk about that as well. This episode will likely run longer than 15 minutes, but hopefully bear with me. Okay, so week 3 at Google. So week 1 and 2 were awesome. I was, doing my onboarding, meeting with my team, doing one-on-ones. And then on Sunday night, I found out that my manager had his twins about 2 to 3 weeks earlier than expected. So I knew at some point my manager was going to go on paternity leave when I started. I think I mentioned that in my Goodbye Microsoft episode. But the twins came early, so yes, yay, we're happy for the twins, but that means that he is starting his paternity leave next Tuesday. So this week has been full of knowledge transfer, meetings in addition to my regular meetings that I attend, in addition to my onboarding activities, in addition to the list goes on. So that is why the podcast is late this week. But the message for week 3 is asking for help. So, a lot of times we come into these jobs, especially if it's a more senior position or role, and we basically have this idea that we should know what we're doing, even though we literally just got there. And so this is my message to you. I'm encouraging asking for help. So the first people that I asked for help was essentially our PMO, our program management office for our specific team. I happened to sit next to, this person, so it was very easy and convenient for me to ask for help. So because her expertise is in program management and project management, I'm going to work with her to figure out a project plan on how I'm going to execute all of the tasks that I need to get done in the next few weeks. Also, a lot of companies provide coaches. So at Microsoft, I got a dedicated career coach who was not an employee, and we had 4 sessions, and that was within the marketing org. So if you're at Microsoft in the marketing org and have not used these coaches, I highly recommend it. At Google, they have coaching for so many different things, and I was able to meet today with a coach who was a program manager, and he gave me so much valuable help and insight onto how to approach my performance reviews, how to have conversations about workload and timing, what questions to ask, vocabulary. There's just such a wealth of information that these people are willing to provide. So definitely ask, if you have access to coaches, I highly recommend using them. And also mentors, so they don't need to be your official mentor, but if there are people more senior or people that you know from another company, for example, I connected with some people who I used to work with at Microsoft who've been at Google a little bit longer. They can provide insight as well. And also greater teammates. So if you ever are starting a new role and someone says, oh, if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to help you out, take them up on it. I definitely had a meeting with a greater team member today, and he gave me, or not today, but this week, and he gave me a lot of helpful information about how to navigate Google and Google culture. And of course, your manager, but you know, in my case, I can't really ask too much of him right now because he literally just had twins, his wife. So, but know that your manager is a resource, and I would use your manager as, like, I would ask them to point you in the right direction and not necessarily be the person who sits next to you and holds your hands and walk you through, because, you know, you're hired to help them. They're not necessarily hired to help you. So, okay, so that's week 3, asking for help, talk to coaches, mentors, teammates, and your manager as well. Moving on, let's talk about product management. So first, what is a product? And I know this is repetitive if you've heard the episode I did a while ago, but I'm sure it's worth refreshing your memory. So there's the products that I'm largely dealing with, and that what most people in tech are dealing with is software products. So literally any software that you use, whether it's Microsoft Word or Gmail or Marketo or Salesforce or SurveyMonkey, like any software that you use for free or that you purchase, that is a software product. In tech terms, we call that a product. There's also hardware products. So if you're talking about the Pixel phone, iPhone, MacBook, etc., those are hardware products, chips, microchips, things like that. And of course, there's other products that you're probably more familiar, like consumer packaged goods, like whether it's, Dasani water or Maybelline mascara, like those are of course products, but I'm going to focus on software products because that's what most people are interested in working on, at least that I encounter, and it's the only type of product that I have experience product managing. So next I want to talk about the different types. So the different types of product managers. So right now my role at Google is more of a business product manager role. So I'm focusing on product needs for business. There's engineering product management, which is focusing on working very closely with engineers and driving the features at the level that the engineers are going to consume. And there's also hybrid, which I would say was my role at Microsoft. I was working with business just as much as I was working with engineers. In tech companies, business kind of refers to marketing, operations, sales, pretty much everyone besides engineering. So that's what I mean when I say business. So I'm currently in a business product manager role, but I have been a hybrid business and engineering product manager. So that's the perspective I can bring. Okay, so what do product managers do? So first and foremost, requirements documents. Whether this is a business requirement document, a product requirement document, or a functional requirement document. So I've experienced writing all three, and these are detailed documents outlining essentially what the product needs to do. So, and this is a lot of your time. So that's your writing requirements documents. You're also doing stakeholder interviews. So stakeholders are typically the end users of your product. There's also customers. I see those differently. I would say stakeholders are like internals. Like internal people in the company, or if you're building a product specifically for another company, like let's say Google was building a product for Apple, let's just say that. The Apple team that was receiving it, they would be their stakeholders. Whereas customers, I would say this is more people that aren't working at the company, aren't working at your partner companies. These are, just regular, everyday people who went to your website and downloaded your software and are now using it. I see those as customers. But regardless, you need to interview stakeholders and customers, if you have them, to understand what needs they have for your product. So this means a lot of one-on-one or one-to-many calls where you are taking notes, understanding pain points. These are typically cameras on, so it's a lot of talking and to people. Sometimes you may have to do design docs. I would say this is a subset of requirements docs. Sometimes engineers or whoever's the end user of your requirements document they're going to need a visual, like a visual specs of some sort. So you may not necessarily be creating that as a product manager. You may be creating the requirements for the design doc, and then a design team takes over. That's what I was doing at Microsoft. So just be aware that there is a design element as well. And you likely do not have direct reports. So you have to do something that we call influence without authority. So you typically product managers do not manage people because they're busy managing products. So you're influencing without authority, which is an art and a skill. And prioritization, that is what will come up constantly. There are terms like stack rank. There are so many different prioritization models. Understand them, learn about them, use them, because you're always going to need to prioritize, and you will find that your stakeholders and your customers need your guidance in prioritization. So you need to be an expert prioritizer. So okay, now let's move on to who we work with. So we work typically with program managers. So program managers are responsible for driving the program forward. Typically the product in question is part of the overarching program. So your program managers are going to be keeping you accountable for the requirements documents. They will be creating the roadmap. So basically the deadlines and timelines for the product to be released or the features within the product. Depending, if you're an engineering product manager, you'll be working with engineers. I am not working directly with engineers in my current role because I'm a business product manager. So I have an engineering product manager that I partner with who then works directly with the engineers. And you will likely, and I just mentioned other product managers. So yes, if you're not working with engineers, you're working with other product managers. And of course you're working with your stakeholders, but it's not necessarily a collaborative partnership with stakeholders. It's more of a customer-oriented relationship with your stakeholders. You work for your stakeholders, so you're making sure that they're being heard, that their needs are being met, and that you're communicating with them the way they need to do, and that you are letting them know what you are expecting from them. Okay, so who would be a good fit for product management? So for me, and again, I'm specifically talking about software product management, you need to be a natural product user and adopter. Like, if you're that person that gets a new iPhone and you need to call Apple support to figure out how to connect your email inbox, I would not recommend going into product management. People, you have to kind of be a product person. And I'm not saying like you can't learn a product, but if that doesn't come intuitively to you, this is going to be a very hard job for you. And feel free to, in the comment, or send me an email if you want to know more about what this means. But I feel like if you know, like if you're someone that picks up new software and new technology really quick, especially if you have ideas on how it would be better, like, yes, become a product manager. You also have to be a people person. This is a customer service job. I've tweeted about this in the past. People have this idea that product managers are, these visionary leaders that charge ahead with, their idea and see their vision through and are, that's not it. You are in service to others. So relationship management, customer success are all skill sets that a product manager needs. So I don't see a lot of that. When people talk about becoming a product manager. This is a customer service job. Okay, so how to become a product manager. So I know that there are all these certifications and courses coming out for product management. I would not do those, because let me talk about what I think is essential to being a product manager, and then I'll talk about why these product management classes and courses aren't helpful if you don't have these things, because you need this type of experience. So first and foremost, being a product subject matter expert, or SME. So honestly, anyone who has been working in corporate in the same type of function their whole career is perfect for becoming a product manager. Because let's say you work in finance and you've been working in QuickBooks pretty much for your whole career. You are a QuickBooks SME, or a subject matter expert. So you could easily take a product management role for a company that is building a QuickBooks alternative, or building custom enhancements to QuickBooks. So that's how I became a product manager. I had been working in marketing technology my whole career, whether it's marketing automation platforms, email platforms, website platforms. That's literally all I had been doing. So even though I had no explicit product management experience, only someone with my level of depth of knowledge would be able to step into the product management roles that I have taken on. Next, another way to become a product manager is from being a software engineer. And software engineers are perfectly positioned to become engineering product managers, because they know how to speak engineering language to write, in these, requirements documents. They know how to communicate to the engineers. They understand the nuances of working with engineers. One day I will talk about that, but right now I am still in recovery mode from working with engineers. And especially if they've been working on the same type of product. Again, that subject matter expert piece is huge. It's significant. It's essential. So if you want to be a product manager and you have been kind of jumping from completely different types of roles to completely different types of roles, the best preparation to be a product manager is to stay in one type of role, I would say, for at least 3 years, so you can become a subject matter expert. And you also need to be a strong business writer. And business writing is all about clarity. It's all about structure of documents to make it easy to read. There's so many courses on business writing, things like that. You have to be comfortable writing. And I think that what causes a challenge for software engineers moving into product management, because they haven't necessarily developed their business writing skills. So I would highly recommend taking a business writing class if you do not feel confident. If every time you start to write an email you get anxious and it takes you 3 times as long as you expected it, take a business writing course. Okay, so those are my thoughts on product management. I'm happy to take additional questions. You can email me, additionpod@gmail.com. You can DM me on social media, and I'd be happy to answer. Okay, so what am I geeked out about this week? Completely random, but potpourri, and specifically homemade potpourri. So if you're someone like myself who receives flowers pretty regularly, or if you like to buy your own flowers, it's always really sad when you just kind of throw your dead flowers in the trash. So what I have started doing is drying out my flowers, and just by picking off the petals and laying them on the ground, like I'm not doing any special fancy thing, and turning them into potpourri. So potpourri is great because it smells good. It's kind of like a built-in air freshener. It looks nice, so it's a decoration, and you can also divide it up into cute little baggies, and they can be gifts or party favors. So I just received a bouquet of flowers this week, and I'm turning it into potpourri and adding it to my potpourri collection. So one of these episodes I will show you my potpourri collection. And so that's what I'm geeked out about this week. I know that I ran long today, but I hope you found this helpful. As always, my YouTube videos have chapters, so you can skip directly to the chapter that you're interested in. The show notes have the timestamps, so even though it's long, you can go straight to what you need. All right, well, have a great weekend. I will talk to you next week. Bye.